All right, guys. Today's a very special episode of Florida Man Friday. Will and Pat are not here. We already recorded the special Grady Judd interview, and they're taking care of the babies. But you're about to hear a full hour with
full hour
with Grady Judd. And he does not disappoint. He's a quote machine. Interesting fella. He basically was it was like a live press conference just for us, a Grady Judd press conference, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess without further ado, here's the Grady Judd interview.
Welcome to the show, legendary Florida Sheriff from Polk County, Grady Judd. Thank you, Sheriff Judd, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, it's certainly my honor to be with you today. How are you all doing?
Oh, very good.
Pretty good. Better now.
Pretty excited to have you, Sheriff. Very excited. We told you a little bit before we started rolling here, but this show has been running for about 3 years. We've been covering Florida Man news every single Friday during that time. Needless to say, our audience has seen and heard a lot of your work from that time period. And for the folks at home, Grady Judd has worked his way up to this position of sheriff in Polk County after joining the sheriff's office in 1972 as their youngest employee of all time, if Wikipedia is telling the truth. Is that true, Sheriff Judd?
Yes, I was 4 years old at the time.
That's when you got your first collar?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's impressive. You know, we talk a lot about Florida men and, all ranges of Florida men on every Friday show. And you were born in Florida, joined the sheriff's office that long ago, and then now worked your way up to sheriff. I mean, you are like the Florida man, really. I can't think of many others that would top that.
What's next? Because are we allowed to talk about what you were doing last weekend?
Well,
where you were?
First, I like it when people say nice things about me, so y'all go ahead.
Were you in DC last week?
Last week I was in DC.
Yeah.
I am the past president of Major County Sheriffs of America. And we're working on this police reform package. Sheriff Bob Gualtieri and I worked with House Speaker Sprouse to create a state system. And now we were there last week meeting with 3 of our U.S. senators, Senator Troy Scott and Senator Booker, and also Senator Lindsey Graham, giving our input, because the House version of this police reform was just some really crazy off-the-wall stuff that's not acceptable to most people. I would say 99.9% of the cops, and certainly not the Senate. So the Senate's working on their version because everyone agrees that some police agencies in this nation need police reform. Some police agencies are on the cutting edge, but unfortunately, the media has taken some individual bad events or individual bad agencies that don't follow best practices, and extrapolated that to lead people to believe that all police are bad and all police are violent, and it's just a false narrative.
Oh, so they're not. Oh, okay.
Good news. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we're trying to push back against that and say, look, there's 800,000 cops. There's some agency that recruited the wrong way, hired the wrong way, didn't try, retain the wrong people. When they do something stupid, that's not indicative of all 800,000 of us.
Sure. And it's a big issue, and it's obviously going to take some time to negotiate all that because it's been going on. So.
Let me ask you, Sheriff Judd, how did you see how big the lifts were in Lindsey Graham's shoes? Did he have did you notice how many inches he was packing in the lifts? He's a little guy.
He was actually sitting down at the time, but he did stand up to leave, and he won't ever be an NBA star, I can assure you.
Yeah.
He doesn't have enough height for that.
He's a little guy. Yeah.
Sheriff Judd, one of the most recent events we covered from your handiwork down in Polk County was Operation Dirty Water. And so wanted to give you a chance to see, your thoughts on that, since that's a fresh one and an international organized crime ring, essentially, So wanted to hear, you sort of break that down. What do you think about that? And are you seeing more crime of that style? We talked about it on the show a couple weeks ago.
Well, the national media wants to ignore the what I call the 10,000-pound red elephant in the room, and that's drug trafficking and drug abuse. And what is occurring at the border right now, contrary to what the politicians tell you, is a crisis. And let me underscore, is a crisis. And not only is it a crisis with the people flooding across the border, but we know that the organized drug smugglers are pushing through a group of people, and why Border Patrol's tangled up with them, they're driving large amounts of methamphetamine and other drugs across the border. We seized $50 million worth of meth that came in a liquid form in 5-gallon buckets across the border. And this drug went to Atlanta. We were working an undercover operation in Central Florida. This particular organized crime group wanted to open up a pipeline into Central Florida. We worked with Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and as a result of that, we're able to bust up this operation. But
that was their mistake coming into Polk County.
We were on them like a JCPenney cheap suit,
Yeah, the landing spot was their fatal flaw.
No, one of the women was, I believe, like a resident of Polk County, right? They were using her. So what was the situation like? Was she like living in a normal house, but she had like 10 Lamborghinis out front? Like, was it real flashy? Like,
it wasn't near that impressive. But this lady that delivered the drugs to us, the first delivery, right? She came out of Atlanta. She had been released from federal prison for doing a 10-year stretch for what? Dealing in meth. Like 2 months earlier.
Yeah. Wasn't rehabilitated, I guess. Yeah.
No, she was still on probation. So when she delivered the drugs, we didn't know who she was. So we had to identify her. So we surveilled her, to North Florida and had the Highway Patrol stop her so it wouldn't be attached to the undercover operation at the time. When the Highway Patrol ran her, it hit her probation in Atlanta, where she was still on federal probation and wasn't supposed to be out of the state. I don't guess she could tell her probation officer, well, it was a short trip. I was just delivering meth.
No.
But in any event, that
move faster on meth, right?
And then we figured out the mastermind that put all this together was serving a 40-year stretch in the federal penitentiary in Atlanta. He was the brains of it all.
Yeah, so can we just call him the mind? I wouldn't call him the mastermind, like he wasn't really master of anything, yeah.
So he was the one that ended up connecting sort of like the people with the connections to the cartels, the drug cartels, and then the locals, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
And he got a 40-year stretch for that. And then while he's in prison, he just continued on with what he'd been doing.
Huh. Because I guess you could keep doing it from there.
Oh, yeah. Because somebody's not paying attention.
Well, phone privileges are probably going away for him at this point.
You would hope that's true, but in this day and age, I'm not sure about anything.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Man. Well, that was a legendary bust. The Operation Dirty Water was a big hit on the show.
Great work there.
How many 5-gallon buckets was that, Sheriff?
You asked me something I don't know. A whole dadgum lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of 5-gallon.
I'm trying to think. Off the top of my head, I do so many of these. It was about 12 or 14 5-gallon buckets.
Wow,
a ton of meth. That's so.
That's
crazy.
That's a flatbed. That's a back of a pickup truck.
It was a lot of meth. So anytime you can rip a cartel for $50 million worth of drugs and put some bad dudes in jail to go with that, that's a pretty good deal.
Sheriff, do you guys ever take, like, let's say you do a bust and you find cash? Do you ever take that cash, like give it to an elementary school, or like buy pizza for an old folks home or something like that? Or how does that work?
Unfortunately, the law's got it a little more complicated than that. But we can seize drug cash, and we have to obviously go through a process with the courts. And then when it's awarded to us, it goes into a special fund. And that fund can be used for other drug investigations. It can be used for specialized equipment. It can be used for crime prevention. And we use it for all of the above.
Nice.
I remember growing up.
The car.
I remember growing up. Yeah, the police in our town had they had a sick tricked out Camaro that had been seized. Did you guys ever seize like a cool car? Like what's it that you?
Yeah, what's the car auction?
And then you'd use it as a taunting mechanism, right?
Yeah. What's the sickest car you've ever seized?
You know, we've seized really nice cars. I can't remember. There's been so many of them over the years. Most of the ones we seize are POSs.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
But every now and then you seize a nice one.
Piece.
Back in the day when I was a street supervisor and a drug supervisor, we seized airplanes. That's when they were flying cocaine in from South America.
Wow.
And
That's
that
like the 80s, right? Like Miami and stuff.
Oh
Like,
we were seizing airplanes. Now that's really cool.
Yeah.
So we flew nice twin engines around here for a long time.
Yeah.
That is cool. Did you
Sheriff
ever see?
Judd,
Oh, go ahead, Wes.
I was going to ask, going back to the cartel one, has the cartel ever reached out to you, anonymously and been like, hey, Sheriff, you're really kind of messing with our business here a little bit. What if we put you on the take, or they just not mess with that? And also, second question, have you ever received threats directly from these cartels that you're, messing with their business?
Well, they've never reached out with an attempted bribe. If they do, that would give me another opportunity to arrest them.
Right. That's the crime itself. Right?
Uh-huh.
I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
And periodically we all get threatened, but we put them in jail. And like I said, the worst thing you can do is threaten me, an old Polk County boy,
Right.
and then give me a gun. Because when I'm scared with a gun in my hand, I'm dangerous.
Well, they have to come to Florida to get you, so that's your territory.
Well, every now and then you get a threat, but that kind of goes with the territory.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever done worked with like the Mexican police to bust the cartel at all?
We work with DEA, DHI. We don't work with the Mexican police because you don't know who you can trust. Most of them you can't trust. The ones that are honest end up losing their heads. I mean,
Right.
they're killing, these two main cartels are killing thousands of people over what we call the border wars. Thousands of people.
I saw they killed their 88th, person that was running for office just this year.
The politicians
88.
down
Yeah,
there.
politicians are getting murdered
Yeah.
left and right down there.
Tough job.
Yeah.
Well, it eliminates the competition, and
Yep.
then they get the people in office that they want in office. They don't want honest people in office that will fight against them. There is a huge corruption problem going on down there. There's literally, we were doing an operation 3, 4, 5 years ago, and we had undercovers there with bad guys on a drug deal when they cut the head off the police chief in the town where we were buying the illegal drugs and getting ready to make a case. So we decided that chief of police couldn't help us much.
No.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Not anymore.
Yeah. No, he can't. But the beaches are nice.
Yeah, Florida is a gem.
The resorts in Mexico.
Both Florida and Mexico, great beaches.
It could be a one-way trip, though.
Yeah, that's right. But speaking of that, the nice beaches, Sheriff Judd, like we cover Florida Man stories every Friday. Lots of action in the Sunshine State every week. Do you think that's an effect of just the weather being so nice that people have more opportunity to cook up something newsworthy, or what's going on down in Florida that keeps it so active?
Keeps you busy.
Yeah.
Well, first off, unlike many places in the Union,
Mm-hmm.
Florida, not only is it a tourist destination,
Oh, right.
but it is probably without a doubt the safest place in the Union because we don't put up with no crap.
Yeah, certainly Polk County. I know I'd be feeling safe there.
We lock people up because we know when people want to come to Florida to hang out on the beach, to go to Disney, Universal, see our great theme parks.
Mm-hmm.
they want to be safe, and they are safe. We're remarkably safe. But to do that, you got to hammer down on crooks. So crooks also like the sunny South as well, where it's beautiful.
Mhm.
So, but I tell them right up front, listen, you come down here and commit crime, we'll run through you like Sherman through Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's hot.
Sheriff Judd, that's amazing. That makes a lot of sense, and I love that. But I feel like you maybe have had to have developed a keener eye to identify a crook, because in most states in the union, if you see someone with their shirt off, right, under the wrong circumstances, your antenna immediately go up, right? But in Florida, it's the state of not rocking your shirt. That's part of the culture down there. So how do you identify a crook from just a good time having tourist when you're on patrol?
Well, one thing that makes all of that easy is crooks only have about 5 brain cells.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 of them are never working at the same time.
So you toss them a puzzle and say,
So,
solve this.
So when you look and you see them, they're morons on meth, is what I call them, and they're easy to spot. And they just do dumb stuff. They just do dumb stuff. They'll do stuff like steal guns and then do selfies and post it on social media. Hey, dude, man, you see the gun I got here? Hey, it's
well, Sheriff, I'd like to challenge you. What's the point of stealing a gun if you're not going to brag about it with the world on social media?
Well, of course. I got this gun. I just got out of New York. I'm in Florida. You come to Florida on vacation, you leave on probation. What can I say?
And to your credit too, isn't Polk County one of the larger counties in Florida? It's between like Tampa and Orlando, correct?
Geographically, we're 2,000 square miles,
right?
And our population's a little over 700,000.
Yeah,
and we're spread out. Most people, they build from the city center out. We pride ourselves in building from the county line in. And as a result, we've got huge developments spread all over the 4 corners of this 2,000 square miles.
Right.
Criminals can't escape the eye.
I'll be driving through Pasco County multiple times 4th of July week because I've got family in Hillsborough. I married into Hillsborough and Pasco County, and brother and sister-in-law in Orange County. So I'll be back and forth through Polk County.
Well, you'll be safest when you're in Polk County because we don't put up with crime.
There you go.
Sheriff, what is your and that's very interesting. We noticed that Polk County is a county we don't honestly cover that often unless we're talking about you and how you're administering your special and unique brand of justice.
Sure.
We love your press conferences. We think they're fantastic. Is there what's the secret sauce? What's your recipe for justice, would you say? And how does that differ from others?
Well, I think it's following the law. I think it's wanting to keep the community safe. There's not a week goes by somebody doesn't tell me that, hey, I moved from New York, or I moved from I guess New Jersey. There's Connecticut is the one this week. They said we didn't know where we wanted to move, but we looked at the crime rate, and we looked at who the sheriff was, and we looked at where we thought we'd be safe. And that's why we came to Polk County. And I think the magic to this is I tell people the truth. I say what most people are thinking all the time. And the reality is, if you want to be a thug and a crook, and you want to do stupid stuff and get away with it, go to Portland, Oregon. They seem to like it out there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of your press conferences, dude, I wonder if criminals ever are like, oh shit, I got arrested by Grady Judd, because they get really insulted in these press conferences, and rightfully so. Do you remember this guy? He's a large man. Do you remember this guy? He was part of one of the operations you do for child pornography bust. I think you've done many of them. I forget what it's called, but you get a lot of the child porn guys off the streets.
Sure.
So I'm gonna play you what you said about him a couple of years ago.
All right.
We had to send a truck to arrest him. He weighs in at a slim 520 pounds. And he didn't fit in the cars, but he does fit in the county jail, and we will feed him well.
Great line.
I remember him now.
Yeah.
Is that freestyle, Sheriff, or
it all broke the budget?
Or did you write that?
How's he doing? Did that guy eat himself to death, or is he doing?
Yeah. I don't know where he is, but you know, when he asked for 4 chickens for lunch, we thought that was a little much.
Yeah.
He's one of the what we call your sick puppy series.
Yes.
Sheriff.
Can we get a soundbite of you saying sick puppies, please? Because
sick puppies.
Thank
you know, sick puppies grow up to be sick dogs. They end up to be dogs in prison. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. We go after sexual predators online that are trying to attack our children. We go after those that are trying to victimize young ladies and make them victims of human trafficking. We go after drug dealers. We go after gangbangers that are trying to shoot up, you know, kids in neighborhoods. And our folks in Polk County like that. They like to know that. In fact, I was at an event last night and we're going to do a press conference about it later on. And some of the gangbangers wanted a selfie with me. You know, while we're at a crime scene. But I take pictures with them too. It's like, peace, brother.
So it's the opposite. They want to get arrested in Polk County. Yeah.
It's amazing to me that I will have people in jail tell me, I want my picture with you. Now, there are inmates in my county jail, and I tell them it's no problem. You behave. When you get out of jail, come in the front door of the office and make an appointment, and I'll get my picture with you. And they do, and I do. You know, I love everybody. You know, I'll get my picture with whoever wants my.
Speaking of that, Sheriff Judd, do you have plans to run for any type of office besides sheriff in the future? Given, you know, all this that we're talking about, everybody likes getting their picture taken with you and all that. Do you have your eyes on any other offices?
Well, I thought about Emperor of the World.
Okay.
Elon Musk has that.
Right.
But,
he's going for it. Yeah.
But I don't have enough money to compete with Elon Musk.
Okay.
So now the truth is I have been offered the opportunity to, you know, run for House of Representatives, to run for the Senate. You know, what people don't understand is what I really am is a street cop that made it to sheriff. I'm elected because I'm sheriff. I'm elected. So therefore I have to do the political thing. But that's a necessity in order to serve the people. I believe I'm a servant leader for the community. I'm the servant. I work for you, and my folks do. I have the best deputies in the entire world, the best support staff. They go out and work really hard and put their life on the line. That's all I want to do. I'm living a dream every day. I mean, I go to bed at night. You have trouble sleeping, you count sheep. I have trouble sleeping. I count prisoners going into the county jail.
Speaking of the deputies and stuff, are you hard to work for? Are you like, you got to be in before me and you got to leave after me? Or are you like, oh, your daughter has a recital, go on, get out of here?
Oh, no. I love my deputies. In fact, you know, when they're out here doing this very difficult job, they got to know that the boss has got their back. Now, I work them. I make them work like a rented mule. But whenever they need to be off for the recital or the softball game, you know, we work schedules around because family is important.
All right.
And if you don't take care of the men and women that work with you and care for and love the family that they need to be with, then it doesn't work out. But we hard charge at work, but we believe in family time.
How do you have a bar you go to? Do you have like a special bar you guys like to go to when you're uncharging? What's the name of that bar? No.
Yeah, you know, I tell folks if they need to uncharge, they need to go to somebody's house.
Okay, all right.
And then if they partake in adult beverages, Uber's cheap.
Good call.
Yeah,
because it gets real ugly if they get in a vehicle after they've been drinking and they drive and other deputies arrest them because they will. Then they have to go like someplace else to work. So I'm pretty tough. You know, when we have to set the right example for the community.
And we covered recently where you had relieved some people of their duty, potentially even put them in jail.
We did.
Yeah.
Evidence tampering. Yeah.
What was that about?
Well, we have over 1,000 deputies, and we had 3 of them that had stopped this lady. And I say that kindly because she was dealing drugs and took $723. Well, it never showed up in evidence. Now, I can tell you, I've been here my entire adult life, and one of the three of them took the money and the other two covered it up. I was hopping mad. Now, I don't mean just a little bit. So we did a complete and thorough investigation and found out that, yes, that's right. One took the money and the other two got scared and were going to help him out. Well, of course, the lady pleads down to misdemeanors, and then she walks in the front door and says, "Hey, I'd like to have my money back." And this is how professional this organization is. Anybody that files a complaint in any way, we check into it. But she really wasn't complaining. She just wanted her money back. And we got to looking and found out her money was never put in evidence.
You know, Sheriff, so that's an interesting point, right? Because, you know, I feel like when you're dealing with criminals a lot, everyone's innocent, right? And and when you're dealing with crazy people, everyone's sane. So I'm curious, did you get a special sense, like a sixth sense from this woman because she was just saying, "Hey, I want my money back," that you knew she was telling the truth?
Because it's written down, right? Or did they not write down?
Ultimately, it's her word against the deputies, right?
Actually, they wrote that they seized money.
Right.
Oh, well, that's stupid.
That's dumb. Yeah. So
and then they took it.
Oh. Well, plus it was $700, three people. I mean, you think if there's three people involved, it would be a bigger score than $700. That's just
well. At the end of the day, when you've got 1,000 deputies doing the right thing, and you got three of them, you know, that need a lobotomy, you know, I mean, so some agency would have just given her $700 back and dealt with it internally. Okay, not me. That's not the way it works. We set the example here. So we not only locked all three of them up, but I held a press conference and stomped around on them because
you did.
We don't do that stuff. We lead from the front, and I was not going to let the three of them taint the 1,000 great deputies that work hard. But if all agencies did that across the country, we wouldn't be in this mess we got right now.
That's a good point. You're setting the tone. You're trying to set the tone for the team and say, like, hey, we're going to run things the right way.
I believe you got so angry at them, or it was a press conference right around then that we covered, that you said you were going to throw them under the jail, not even in the jail. You were just going to put them under the effing jail. And
we had a bit of debate about what that means exactly.
Well, you know, that means you're deep in the jail, you know?
Yeah, right.
But I was hot now. I was hot about that. But hey, look, you know, this is one of these things that there are many agencies in this country that would have tried to hide that, gave the money lady her money back, or either threw her out of the lobby and said she was crazy. You know, they wouldn't have given her a voice.
Yeah.
But, you know, even drug dealers get voices when they're right. And we just do things the right way here. But it works for us. It works for this agency. Around this nation, when people were throwing rocks and bottles and all kinds of craziness, in this county, our folks were bringing us food into the district stations and putting signs up front that they loved the sheriff's office. And when a deputy would go in a restaurant to eat 4 days out of 5, he couldn't even pay for his own bill because somebody had picked the check up. So our community loves us and trusts us, but it's because we do things the right way and we hold people accountable. You can't hold the community accountable if you're not going to hold yourself accountable.
100%. That you're 100% right. I have a question though. Like, so you have this, you know, reputation. You do things like you said you do. When you go to like the state police meetings or, you know, conventions, is there like do people like not invite you to the parties? Or they're like, oh shit, here comes Polk County, they're a bunch of hard asses?
Do they think that you're, you know, too by the book, so to speak?
Right. It's like there's
Tebow in the locker room.
Hillsborough or St. Pete police, Pasco counties over there being like, you know, like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I think Wes said it best. Do they think that you're the Tim Tebow of the locker room?
Yeah.
No, not. In fact, what I find is those folks think like I do. They're just not as outspoken about it as I am.
Okay.
The policing industry, by and large, are hardworking, dedicated men and women that do a really good job every day. It's just a few of these people that's an aberration. I mean, think about it. You know, there's a few bad doctors and lawyers and a few bad of everything, but who ferrets them out? We do. So, but I do coach at these meetings and tell them, look, don't let your union protect these bad cops. Don't let your supervisors not hold them fully accountable. So I coach with them, but really I get a great deal of respect and camaraderie from them because they are great folks too.
Man, I wish you would have been running the Wuhan lab when the outbreak happened and held them responsible in an early, timely fashion.
Done the right thing, Sheriff. Sheriff, is there a movie or a cop hero that you grew up loving that you because look, being the sheriff is cool, man. That's universally known. Hey, I'm the sheriff. Law and order is under me. You walk with a different bit of swagger once you get that win that election, become the sheriff, put that sheriff badge on. Is there a movie or a character that you looked up to that
Who was that?
Andy Griffith.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's solid. Talk about community too.
Andy Griffith had it all. He had the respect of the community.
Mm-hmm.
He enforced the law. He looked at things for what they were, not what people wanted them to be, and he did what was right. And of course, beside Andy Griffith, I love Gunsmoke, Matt Dillon, because he would take care of business right now. And if you ever watch, I love the old westerns and but you watch Gunsmoke, you watch Andy Griffith. Many people try to bribe or take advantage of Matt Dillon, and he was always the rules. And so, and
did you ever use that as a training video?
I think there was moral and ethical messages sent through that about right's right and wrong's wrong. And we don't see that a lot anymore.
No. Right. So do you have a Barney Fife? Can we make fun of someone on your force that you think is a kind of a goof?
Oh, no, none of my guys
no Fifes.
Every force has a whipping boy, Sheriff. You can be honest with us.
You can point the camera at him if you want, real quick.
That's one that doesn't work here anymore.
Okay, all right.
It was one of those guys that are under the jail.
Okay, do you have time for one story?
Yeah.
Yes.
Barney Fife story. I'm taking you way back in the day. This was long before I was a sheriff. I was a captain or a major, and we had a guy who held his daughter hostage. It was a domestic situation. Wife came after the daughter, who was about 5 or 6 years old, and guy was drunk, pulled out a gun, wouldn't let him have him. And so anyway, so it's into the night. We got the SWAT team there. We're trying to get the baby out. So as we move up to the house, as we're looking through the windows, we can see the little girl moving around, and we can see him on the couch asleep. Okay. So the hostage negotiator calls the little girl to the window, which was up because it was summertime, and said, "Hey," and the little girl said, "Yes." "Go wake your daddy up so we can talk to him." We're like, "What are you thinking?" So fortunately I was close enough to hear that. I said, "No, tell him to come outside."
Go wake your daddy up.
Go wake your daddy up so we can talk to him.
That was Barney Fife.
Wow.
And we're trying to get her out.
Yeah, it's tough to trust that deputy. Moving forward,
I took him off the hostage negotiation team.
Good call.
Good call. Yeah.
Oh.
Great management move.
Sheriff, are there any other stories that come to mind that are some of your favorites or the more interesting of your time overseeing Polk County?
When I have been blessed to be with the sheriff's office really a very long time, and I've got thousands of stories, literally thousands of stories. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them break your heart. But I guess, to encapsulate, I just like knowing when I wake up every day that I'm going to help somebody today that otherwise wouldn't have help, that I can be the voice for the voiceless, that I have to remind my colleagues, look, across the state and the people in the community, look, I'm not an appointed police chief. I'm not the government's representative to enforce the law. I'm the elected sheriff. I am the people's representative to enforce the law. So I look out for everyone. I look and that's how I coach and teach my deputies, is look at everyone as an individual and every event as an individual. And I've been in everything, involved in everything in my career, from shootouts to where, they had us pinned down and were shooting at us with semi-automatic rifles, to, delivering babies, to the whole gamut.
Sheriff, please tell us a shootout story. Yeah, please tell us a shootout.
You said semi. Yeah, tell us the semi-automatic story. What is that?
Well, this all started with us trying to serve a mental health paper long before I was a sheriff. And the deputy went there. I was a sergeant with the mother. I'm sorry, with the sister. The guy was elderly. Of course, I was a young sergeant, so elderly could have been anything over 50 at the time.
He had gray hair. Yeah.
And the guy pulled a handgun and told them to leave. So the deputy called for me. The deputy had retired out of the military, so he'd been to war before, and he told me he was actually older than I was, more experienced, retired Marine. He said, "Look, I think this person is just mad with his sister. I think you and I can talk him down." I said, "Well, okay, that sounds cool with me."
You first, right?
Yeah.
So we walk around the edge of his house, and he's sitting on the front porch. Well, you know what? He put that pistol away, but he got him a dadgum rifle and started shooting at us. Well, I could hear the bullets flying past me and through the trees. Brr, brr, brr. He was shooting. Pat, 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 pat.
Oh.
So we ran, and the good news was he missed us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got us a perimeter set, and while we were waiting for SWAT, he continued to shoot at us. So this same deputy that I was telling you about, the other story about the negotiator, he's coming to help set a perimeter, and I'm telling him, do not approach from the south.
Oh,
you got to be very clear with this guy.
The dude drives up from the south, and the guy starts shooting at him, and you hear him hit the car. Tink, 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 tink.
The same guy.
And you hear over the radio, I think he's shooting at me.
Yeah.
You can't make this stuff up. So anyway, we got him out of the way before he got shot full of holes. And then the SWAT team came, and finally the guy came out of the house and charged at the SWAT team with a gun, shooting at us. And of course, that was the end of him. We shot him so much you could read a newspaper through him.
Yeah.
Did you think
Swiss cheese?
In that kind of a situation, maybe the other officer was correct at the time? He was so mad he was just going to go out no matter what.
What he had determined, he had reached an age and a junction in life. He was a veteran of World War II or the Korean War. I can't remember which one. And he had, after we find out later, he'd shot his gun a lot and shot at people and was out of control. And he was not going to the hospital. He wasn't getting help. He was done. And he was going to do suicide by cop. Unfortunately, he thought he'd take a few of us with him. I'm glad he missed.
Yeah, I'm glad he missed too. Glad he missed too.
We're all glad.
You mentioned you're elected, which you are. Does anyone run against you at this point? Because that seems like a foolish thing to do.
I say my prayers, and I think the people of Polk County as well. I was just elected for the 5th term. I'm the first sheriff in the 160-year history to get elected for 5 terms, and I was elected without opposition.
Nice.
And
there you go.
Amazing. We got to get you a gold 6-shooter or something.
Well, it was a very contentious political year. So if anyone was going to draw opposition, you would have thought it was last year. So I'm grateful, but I work hard every day. But the excitement of this is, after all these years, I still wake up most mornings before the alarm goes off to come to work, to include today.
Nice. Serve your community.
You don't have to campaign to us. We'd vote for you.
Well, yeah, Sheriff, I think that's interesting. I feel like your brand of justice transcends partisanism, right? Or partisanship.
Well, it does.
People just know that you're going to take justice very seriously, and you're going to execute that justice in a way that's fair. And that's exciting to me as a guy that loves justice. Not as much as you're passionate, but man.
Well, I meet with the Democrats. I meet with the Republicans. Sometimes the Democrats disagree with me. Sometimes Republicans disagree with me, but none of them can disagree that I don't always operate in their best interest, because you know what? We're all Americans. We're all good people. We've let this Republican Democrat thing get way out of control, and that's unfortunate.
Oh yeah.
Because people have a right to be what party they want to be, and people have a right to have opinions. And just because your opinion doesn't coincide with my opinion doesn't mean we're supposed to put a hate on each other. And the reality of it is there is no difference in a Republican sheriff or a Democrat sheriff or an independent sheriff or a nonpartisan sheriff if they're doing the job the right way. It's just how they get elected, and that varies across the nation. But I can tell you, I love all the people. I'm not mad at the crooks. They do the wrong thing. It's just business when I lock them up.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's what I think my success historically. When you get elected sheriff the first time, that's the pinnacle of your popularity, and it starts to dwindle over time because, after all, your deputies are writing tickets, arresting people, repleviating property, and putting people out of their homes.
But
that's not a popular thing. But what I have found is it's the way you do it and the way you're sensitive. And if you have to put somebody out of their home on a court order, try to help them find another place.
Your compassion has to help, but also the press conferences can't hurt. That's got to be helping your status.
The media, the press conferences and social media help because they get to see me. They get to see my heart, the true me.
Yeah.
I like to cut up and laugh and have a good time. I want to send a message that I'm here to protect you. I'm here to protect everybody, but I'm not putting up with any foolishness. I took an oath to enforce the law. I swore an oath on a Bible to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States and Florida. And the most people that in your community obey the law, and they're the ones we're supposed to pay attention to. They're the ones, we're supposed to protect. And the criminals, the thugs, if they don't want to go by the law, then I got a jail for them.
Right.
And, I run a taxi cab to the jail. It's got red and blue lights on it.
Simple as that.
There you go. What you said about a couple minutes ago about like the Democrats and Republicans and stuff, we might clip that down because that's the whole point of Hard Factor too. Is we're not partisan, but instead of cleaning up the streets, it's with dick jokes and insulting people. So similar Hard Factor in the Polk County Sheriff.
But trying not to take it too seriously.
Right.
Doing the Lord's work. Sheriff Judd saying,
Right.
Sheriff, do you ever give like they do in the movies, like when like there's a bad guy out there that like that you want your deputies to collar? Do you ever like slam like an 18-year bottle of scotch on the table and be like, first person to collar this guy gets this 18-year
bounty
like
system,
a bounty system for
motivational bounty system?
I hadn't thought of that. That may give me a new idea. Usually what I say is, listen, guys, we need this guy in jail real bad. He's dangerous. So y'all don't go home till you find him. And usually, that works because sometimes they're out 2 or 3 days, and when they get sleepy, they get more determined.
Yeah.
Well, gotta get a nap.
Sheriff, on that note, what's Wes got me thinking about The Fugitive, the movie The Fugitive. Great movie. And I'm thinking about just what is there like any kind of sick detective work that comes to mind, or really interesting clues that may have solved a crime?
When's the last time you arrested a one-armed man?
Yeah, like was there any like what's the coolest investigation you guys ever went through over there?
There's a lot of cool investigations, and a lot of them are tied to DNA now.
Right, which is less cool. It's less sexy.
Well, the thing about it is we had a murder that was years old. We knew who did it at the time, but we absolutely could not prove it because we didn't have DNA. So years later, we were able to submit, and this has happened on several occasions, DNA, and the labs were able to say, hey, here's the guy who committed your crime. So on this one case, the guy had never been in trouble. We didn't have his DNA from at all. He lawyered up, and we go, how the heck are we going to catch this dude? So what we did is we surveilled him, and one night he went to a restaurant. And he had this fabulous meal. He had steak. It was a nice steakhouse. And, he ate and enjoyed his meal and ordered him a drink and drank out of a straw. And when he left, we went and seized the forks and the straws and everything. And we got a presumptive DNA, which gave us enough to get a search warrant for his body. And then we went and arrested him on the murder charge. I call it, Operation Last Supper.
Right.
Yeah.
When your deputies came back and told you that they got that, did you look at them and say, well, that'll be his last meal as a free man?
Yep.
That was one expensive steak.
Yeah.
He won't eat a steak that good ever again, because we don't serve steak in the county jail. You know what?
No, you don't. No.
You know what we serve in the county jail?
What do you serve?
Well, we serve meat instead of peanut butter and jelly. You can't get any peanut butter and jelly. It's expensive. You know what kind of meat? I can't recognize it, but it's USDA inspected. I tell everybody our food in the jail is nutritious, not necessarily delicious.
Right.
All right. Fair enough.
Worst meals I had was in jail.
Yeah. Well, you know how to correct that? Stay out of jail.
I did. Yes.
Taught him good.
Sheriff, what do you think makes a Florida man?
What do I think makes a Florida man? I think Florida and every state in the union is short of real men. I think a Florida man is one that he says what he believes, and he believes what he says, and that he's a real man, that he reaches out his hand for those that are less fortunate, those that need a hand up, not a hand out. I think he's one that pays attention to those that don't have a voice. I think he's one that has a good time. Really, you never trust somebody you can't have a libation with. I think he's one that people want to run to in the time of need instead of run away from. I think that's a real man and a real Florida man.
So the first person you want to be around in a zombie apocalypse.
Yes.
Yes.
Also probably handy with a firearm, which
Yes.
can't help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A real man will run to you. A real man to say, yes, ma'am, and open the door for a lady. A real man still respects that women are special people in our lives. And that's a real man.
All right.
And we
Well
strive
said.
to cover some feel good Florida man stories every week as well, because there's obviously range of Florida man
Yeah,
stories.
to be clear, we love Florida. And that's the
Absolutely
only
love
reason we do the show every Friday. Obviously, there's a lot of goofy criminals there, but we could do that with any state, and we choose Florida because we have family and a lot of good times in Florida.
And Sheriff Judd, speaking of just goofy criminals, I want to, if you don't mind, we'll play a little game with you. We selected a random mugshot, and we're going to go around the table, and we want to know if your spidey senses, if you can identify the petty crime that this individual committed. We're going to go around just the crime.
Just what you think this person did.
Just the crime. We're on the table. We'll start with Will, and then we'll end with one with me. We'll go around there. Okay.
Oh, that guy. Public masturbation.
Okay.
All right. Who's next? Pat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go with that's petty larceny in my opinion.
Okay.
Domestic violence.
Okay. Domestic violence. Okay.
Yeah. Beat up his boyfriend.
Sheriff.
You can tell he's looking in the camera going, what in the heck am I doing here? I think it's DUI.
DUI. All right.
Good guess.
Wes, what do you think? What do you think it is?
I mean, I think it's a misunderstanding. Personally, I think he's probably going to get off. If you look at him real hard, he looks like he has no idea why he's
sorry.
There. Yeah, he looks sorry. He has no idea why he's there.
What was the actual charge?
It's me, Sheriff.
It was just
me. It's me. I'm just kidding.
It's a fake picture.
The fake picture is me. I wanted to just do a little test on you.
So you look kind of like a drunk,
I used to be. Almost a year sober, Sheriff Judd.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of other feel good stuff, like Wes's year of sobriety he's got under his belt. Can you tell us a little bit about your community organization, Jeepin' with Judd? I know that you.
That's massive. So anyway, I had one of my deputies come to me. He said, "Hey, I got an idea about this Jeeping event." And I go, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I think we can do it as a fundraiser for our charity." And I go, "Look, we don't need to have anything sponsored by the sheriff that's got a bunch of drunks and mud holes and stuff like that. No good comes out of that." He said, "No, you don't understand. This is really a family-oriented event. Jeeping is kind of like, people who ride Harleys. They have these huge clubs, and it's a family-oriented deal. And so we checked it out, and we go, okay, let's try it." Clear Spring Mines, which gave us the property for free.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Which, in order to do this, the first year we had like almost 500 Jeeps.
And Sheriff, this is the event where they climb. It's like to see whose Jeep is the best performer for people that don't know what Jeeping is.
Exactly. The last year we capped it at 2,000 Jeeps.
Oh, wow.
And it's 18,000 acres, and we use the vast majority of it. And it's different trail rides. So you have everything from a ride through the woods to little hills to bigger hills to actually climbing structures. So it's every level of Jeep deal. You know what's interesting about that? Okay, it's a cop event, but you can't get that many best friends together without problems.
Mhm.
Out of almost 7,000 people that showed up, you know how many we had to put out? One.
Oh, wow.
That's great. That's good.
Wow.
You got four best friends.
What did he do?
Best friends
Oh.
on this show, and we have more problems than that.
Yeah.
Right. We're putting one out a night. That's
Yeah.
4.
At
So
least. So at the end of the day, I mean, you can bring your kids there. They camp. They come from all over the United States. We have, like I said, we capped it at 2,000 Jeeps this year, and about 6 or 7, maybe 8,000 people. But it is so much fun, and it's cheap. I think it's like $100 a Jeep or something like that.
oh
for the
man,
whole
I should have
weekend.
bought a Jeep. I just got a new car and it wasn't.
Did you
a
throw a
Jeep.
little
Oh.
sheriff star on your Jeep just so people knew, though, so there was no confusion when you're
Do
out there?
you know that I never had a Jeep? Although until this happened, I thought, well, I'll have to go out and buy a Jeep, and I did. And then
They should have given you a Jeep.
Right.
You know what? There's ethics problems with that.
Yeah.
So my first Jeep, my wife said I'm not going to shift gears because she's the real boss, So I bought
Yeah.
another Jeep, and it was automatic, and I thought it was really cool. We put a big kind of military star on it, and it was totally awesome. And it was automatic. And
So that's tough at the station, showing up with an automatic Jeep.
oh
Sheriff.
yeah.
I mean, you got to admit that's tough, showing up and seeing the boys and saying, "Yeah, it's an automatic."
Yeah, and then that one wasn't good enough because she didn't think she could get enough of the grandkids in it. So I'm on my third Jeep now. Okay,
There you go.
So if you don't want to be addicted, don't ever start it because it is really cool and a lot of fun. And this year we raised, after we paid the bills, almost $250,000 for our charity.
Wow. Yeah. And what does Jeeping with Judd give to? I noticed it was a charitable organization.
Yeah, we give it to the Polk Sheriff Charities.
Okay.
Which is our 501c3, and then we disperse it right back into the community for those that are less fortunate and that need help.
Nice.
That's
Great.
Fantastic. And Sheriff, thank you for going to DC and working on the police reform bill. That's one thing that's been really irking us on this show, that it's been over a year and nothing's coming through on it. So it's great you went up there to help move it along.
We hope that we can move it along. Quite frankly, guys, if police agencies across this country would take advantage of either state or national police accreditation, okay, that gives you a pathway and best practices of how to run a police agency. But guess what? In the entire state of Minnesota, that has over 400 police agencies, how many of them have a national police accreditation?
I'm going to guess less than 10.
Zero.
No.
Zero.
How many of them have seen Gunsmoke too?
And
Probably.
Guess of the 12 agencies, I'm sorry, of the 12 states in the nation that don't have accreditation. Let me think what one of them's name is. Minnesota. They have 0 state accreditation. So if you don't have the right pathway, you don't have the right systems and processes, people do things the way they want to. And I can tell you, independent accreditation will fix these agencies that otherwise are not behaving. But you know why they don't do it? It's a lot of work.
Money.
And it's a lot of money. And they have to, guess what? Pay attention and be
accountable. Yeah, I was talking to a lawyer friend of mine who's been in Minneapolis his whole life, and he was saying that's been just the police up there generally been a problem for a long period of time. I didn't know about the accreditation. It seems silly that you wouldn't take full advantage of any and all programs that might make you a better police force.
Well, that's the way I think. We have 10 accreditations at this agency. 10. They're not all police accreditations. There's detention and support, but we have 2, a state and the national accreditation.
You guys are like the people that have the comma and then like the 3 letters with the dots and then the comma, then the 3 letters with the dots, like SCA,
all the
like,
certifications, right?
Yeah, you're like the certified Esquire and accountant, and
that's a good thing, I guess. And I guess we share your sentiments. We hope that the Republicans and Democrats can put their stuff aside and just do what's right. Figure out how to get it.
And we'll be following your press conferences. And we have a huge favor to ask. Obviously, you came on the show for an hour, which was a favor enough. But if you remember to. And if it's something you'd be willing to, anytime like this press conference you have today, anytime you have a mugshot of what we would both consider a sick puppy, us and you, if you ever want to say like, this is what the Hard Factor boys and I would call a sick puppy. We would, if it ever comes up in your mind when you're doing a press conference, we would clip that.
Please do that. Also, if you don't mind, before you take off today, could you just call us sick puppies right now? Just like as if we had committed a crime.
Okay, as I look at you guys, not only do I think you're all sick puppies, I think you're sick 3-legged puppies.
Oh. Sheriff Judd, what did we do?
That's a motley crew, I gotta say.
It is.
But yeah, Mark's dead on. Yeah, you would make a whole community, the Hardo Hives day, if you said, man, this is what Hard Factor would call a sick puppy. Just throwing it out there. And then Sheriff Judd, we're going to come down to Florida. The Hardo Hive, which is our fan base, we're planning a Florida trip. We're waiting until
our first meetup
after the pandemic. So maybe it'll be like later next summer. Who knows? But maybe we'll be in Polk County. But if we are, we'd like to invite you.
We'll be near Polk County either way. It's going to either be St. Petersburg, Tampa, or Fort Lauderdale. It's within an hour or so either way. Yeah.
You need to come here, and we need to do one of these programs live.
Let's do it. Hell yes.
Okay. And love that. Yeah.
That pandemic stuff in Florida, we're over it. That's a wimpification of America.
We know. I'll be in Florida for a week for 4th of July. We just, it's more about money. So we'll probably be there next spring just because we're bringing like 50 people. But
you got
we'd love to do a show with you live. Yeah.
We'll come down and do a live show with you for sure.
We come down and we'll do a live show. We'll talk about you need to get your shots and then open up these places up north that are starving people to death. Florida's been open the whole time.
Yes, it has.
We're the third most populous states, and per capita, our infection rate and our death rate's like 26 and 27. So locking down is not such a good idea.
Now it turned out that was pretty tough on businesses, and
it's behind us.
The results.
It's behind us. You got that ocean breeze in most parts too. That helps. But
we're ready to join it. We're ready to get.
We'll be there. We'll be in Florida multiple times the next year, and we'll definitely meet up with you if you accept. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
I would love to do that, and if y'all don't behave, you'll leave on probation.
That's right. We will be an honor.
Stay there.
Definitely in Polk County, not committing any crimes. No.
All right, brothers. We'll see y'all later. Had a great time today.
Thank
you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
And that was awesome. I guess we're gonna do a live show with Grady Judd. Maybe incorporate that somehow in the Hive Hour trip later this fall or early next spring. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll have to drive.
That's not gonna happen.
We're gonna have to drive into Pasco County sober and then drive back to the party town.
Let's be honest.
Pasco County is a little bit. It's like 30 to 40 minutes away from where we'll be. So, but we'll definitely do a live show with him, just us, I imagine, at some point, or go.
Pasco or Polk.
Sorry, Polk. Yeah, Pasco, I think, is St. Petersburg. Polk County is where he is. Sorry, you have to go inland into the center of Florida from the coast, which was where we'll be. But yeah, I mean, you got anything to say, Wes? That was awesome.
No, it was fun. He's a fun guy. We were gonna have tons of quotes from him. My favorite was when I have a gun and I'm scared, I'm dangerous.
That's a good one.
He's good. I like him. I wish all sheriffs were like Sheriff Judd. You know,
he's very affable. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks everyone for listening. We're pumped. That was a big interview for us. We had a lot of fun. And most importantly, have a great fucking day.